So when you say
So
you took that break, was it, like when you retired in early in 2018, and was that idea of like, I'm done, or was it like, I just need to kind of regroup here a little bit?
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure, but what I told myself is like I need to make a decision to not live my life thinking about baseball every day. And so what that meant was like I stopped working out, I stopped throwing, I stopped, like there's this like, unwritten, unsaid belief that most baseball players have. It's like if I'm not doing something today, if I'm not being productive, if I'm not getting my work in, then I'm falling way behind, right? And it's like you're working just to keep up instead of like confidently walking in development and knowing you're like, hey, I am at the, I am in a place where it's like I'm actually getting better versus like I feel like I'm struggling to keep up. And I think most players feel like they're struggling to keep up. There's such an emphasis on, oh, you got to stick to the program every single day, and if you aren't sticking to the program, then like you're actually getting worse in some way, and it creates a lot of anxiety, and it creates this like never ending cycle that is actually, I think, really detrimental to a lot of kids. And so I was kind of in that place. I was like, man, I'm injured, but I feel like I need to be able to compete tomorrow. And there was no gap for rest, recovery, you know, patience. Time and age is such a huge factor when it comes to baseball. Oh, I did this. I mean, that's true of life too. It's like I did this by this age. I was, in this at this level of pro ball by this age. I made my debut at this age. Because it doesn't just affect how much money you make, but it also is part of like your legacy about who you are and all this stuff. And so there's so many things where age is such a factor. It's like you see all of the posts on social media that MLB makes is like they're talking about how the amazing things these young players are doing at such a young age, right? But it's like they don't talk about, like Mike Trout isn't getting the nod because he's doing this at 31 or 32 years old. He got the nod a lot back when he was doing it at 21 and 22,
Mm-hmm. For sure.
and so that, I mean, that was part of it, but I just needed to take a break and get my mind off of baseball. And so I lived life as if I'd never play baseball again. I knew that maybe in the back of my mind it's like, who knows? I guess I can leave the door open, but that's true at any point in my life. And so it's like, I was like, I think I'm done with baseball, and I need to live my life as if I'm done with baseball and figure out who's Mark Appel, the person, not the baseball player, where this doesn't define me in any way. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
it was the best thing that I ever did. Yeah.
Well, and again, we stick to these labels so often. Mark Appel, baseball player. Mark Appel, number one overall pick. Mark Appel, all these expectations, and it's like, at what point in time? And this is what I talk to the kids about too. At what point in time do you really know who you are and what your reasoning is for being here, and what's your why on what you want to do?
Yeah.
And you have all this expectation. This is why I've asked you so much about expectation, because these kids feel so much expectation of, I'm a sophomore, I'm not committed yet. Why? I'm a junior, I'm not committed yet. Why? I'm a senior. How do I navigate this now? And there's so much expectation. It's like, well, you're just strictly identifying as a baseball player, and you need to
Yeah.
understand that there's way more to you. Tell me a little bit about, in that time you had off, what'd you kind of figure out about that, and how that cleared your mind a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I figured out that I love being around my family. I figured out that people like me uh, for me and not just because I play baseball. I mean, these are things that you're like, well, duh, like Mark, you seem like a good guy, but they're like insecurities, and it's like, I mean, how many kids think that their parents love them because they're pursuing this sport, and if that they're afraid that if they were to stop, that they might not be receiving the same love, because it's a big sacrifice that parents make to let their kids go play baseball. And a lot of times it starts from this place of love, and it morphs into this like expectation and, um, kind of rooted in shame. It's like there's disappointment if, you don't play well, or there's disappointment if you are tired and you're like, hey, maybe I don't want to keep playing baseball, but you feel like you have to keep going because you want to make mom and dad happy. Um, and so I just learned that people like me for nothing that I can give them, or no life that they can live vicariously through me and my career. That was a big deal. I traveled a little bit. You know, went on trips with friends, and, I was back in, going to church on a regular basis, which was a big part of my life growing up. And, it's like I was just able to figure out who I am. I had a lot of time to explore other hobbies and passions and other things like that. And, I figured out some things I really like and some things I don't like at all, but I got to experience it. I got to go try it. And that was like a huge thing for me to, when I actually went back and started playing again or trying to play again. I did it because it's like I actually wanted to, and I enjoyed it. I didn't feel obligated or feel like this expectation was making me continue to go, longer than I should have.